You were not born average, yet many sit in life as if mediocrity is their destiny. Many breathe, walk, eat, and talk like ordinary people when everything about them screams that they were created for greater things. I am standing before you today to remind you of something heaven has been trying to whisper into your heart for years. You were not born to blend in. You were born to stand out. You were not designed to shrink. You were designed to rise. You were not formed to live small. You were formed to live in the largeness of God's intention for your life. Look at your own life. Look at your breath. Look at your journey. Look at the battles you fought. These are not the marks of an average person. These are the marks of someone carrying an assignment, a purpose, a destiny that is too heavy to live in the territory of the ordinary. But the tragedy is that many have accepted average living as normal living. Many have accepted defeat as their daily food. Many have allowed fear to become their shadow and excuses to become their language. Let me tell you something. Anything you constantly excuse, you eventually accept. And anything you accept, you eventually become. But you were not born for smallness. You were not born for fear. You were not born to live under the weight of limitations placed on you by people who never understood your calling. You were not born to live according to the expectations of those who expect nothing great from themselves. Where you came from does not define where you are going. The house you grew up in does not determine the palace God is preparing for you. The failures behind you do not disqualify you from the victories ahead of you. When heaven wrote your name, it did not write average beside it. Heaven wrote purpose, strength, glory, assignment, impact, legacy. But listen to me, purpose is not a decoration, it is a responsibility. And responsibility comes with a demand. The demand is that you stop living small. Stop walking slowly when destiny is calling you to run. Stop thinking average when heaven is pushing you into excellence. Stop speaking doubt when your tongue was designed to release power. You must understand this. Average living is a comfort zone, and comfort zones are the silent prisons of great destinies. Many people do not realize they are trapped because their prison is decorated with familiarity. They know the routine. They know the pattern. They know the people. They know the excuses. They know the fears. And because they know it, they settle in it. But settling is the enemy of rising. Look at a seed. A seed in the soil looks buried, but inside it, greatness is waiting to be expressed. The seed does not negotiate with the soil. It pushes, it breaks, it rises, it grows. It refuses to remain hidden because it was not created to stay underground. The seed rises because rising is its nature. And your spirit is the same. Your life is the same. You were not designed to be buried in average. You were designed to rise. Every limitation that has tried to cover you, every fear that has tried to bury you, every weakness that has tried to silence you, they are the soil. And you must push through them. You must break through them. You must rise above them. You were not born average. Average people wait for permission. Great people move with conviction. Average people wait for everything to be perfect. Great people start with faith, even in imperfection. Average people look at obstacles. Great people look at opportunities. Average people stop when they feel tired. Great people continue because they know destiny is not reached by convenience, but by consistency. You must ask yourself today, why am I living below my calling? Why am I allowing fear to tell me who I am? Why am I letting other people's doubts become my direction? Why am I settling for less when God placed more inside me? Every time you choose fear, you dim your own life. Every time you choose excuses, you hand your future over to average living. Every time you delay obedience to your calling, you delay the miracles attached to it. You cannot expect extraordinary results with average commitment. You cannot expect divine breakthroughs with human excuses. You cannot expect heaven to honor what you refuse to activate. Some of you are frustrated not because life is against you, but because the greatness inside you is suffocating in a lifestyle too small for it. You are uncomfortable not because God forgot you, but because you forgot who you are. There is a divine restlessness inside you, a holy dissatisfaction, a spiritual discomfort. It is heaven telling you, stand up, rise higher, move forward. You were not born average. You must stop living like what you are not. You are not weak. You are not nameless. You are not forgotten. You are not useless. You are not a mistake. You are not insignificant. You are not replaceable. You are not an accident. You are not ordinary. You are chosen. You are equipped. You are called. You are strengthened. You are empowered. You are anointed for purpose. You are a carrier of greatness. You are a vessel of influence. You are a person with an assignment that only you can fulfill. People may not understand you. People may not see what is inside you. People may misjudge you. People may underestimate you. That is their limitation, not yours. Never let small-minded people convince you that your calling is too big. Never let insecure people push you into shrinking so they can feel tall. Never let anyone convince you to live small so they can feel comfortable. You were not born average. Let me speak to your spirit now. Something inside you must awaken. Something inside you must refuse to sleep another year. Something inside you must reject the bondage of fear. Something inside you must rise with holy anger and say, enough. I cannot live like this anymore. Enough of procrastination. Enough of excuses. Enough of waiting. Enough of doubting. Enough of shrinking. Enough of comparing. Enough of believing lies about who you are. Enough of surrendering your purpose to laziness, fear, or opinions. Rise. Rise above your environment. Rise above your background. Rise above your mistakes. Rise above your fears. Rise above your failures. Rise above your limitations. Rise above average. Average living does not suit you. You look uncomfortable in it. You look misplaced in it. Your spirit does not settle in it. You were crafted with too much excellence to fit into mediocrity. Greatness requires sacrifice. It requires discipline. It requires consistency. It requires courage. It requires dying to your excuses. It requires standing up when others sit down. It requires moving when others freeze. It requires vision when others see nothing. You must understand that destiny responds to bold action. Heaven partners with movement. Miracles follow obedience. Favor accompanies discipline. Breakthroughs meet those who refuse to quit. You want to rise, then live like someone who was not born average. Speak differently, think differently, work differently, pray differently, believe differently, act differently, walk with purpose, talk with conviction, stand with confidence, move with intention, make decisions with clarity. Stop apologizing for your calling. Stop negotiating your destiny. Stop trying to convince people who were never assigned to understand you. Let me tell you something important. God does not choose the qualified. He qualifies the chosen. If you feel unprepared, unskilled, unsure, unworthy, good. It means you are exactly the type of person heaven uses to do extraordinary things. Extraordinary people are not extraordinary because of talent. They are extraordinary because of obedience, courage, and faith. You weren't born average. If life pushed you down, rise again. If people abandoned you, rise again. If you made mistakes, rise again. If you fail, if you lost time, rise again. If you feel behind, rise again. One rise can change everything. One rise can shift the direction of your future. One rise can silence every doubt. One rise can rewrite your story. You are not average. Average people break when storms come. But you were shaped by storms. Your strength was forged in fire. Your resilience was built in nights of crying, in seasons of waiting, in battles no one knows you survived. You are stronger than you think. You are deeper than you realize. You carry more than you see. Nothing about your journey is average. The attacks you faced were not average. The battles you fought were not average. The pain you survived was not average. So the destiny waiting for you cannot be average. Stop living like you are small. Stop walking like you are lost. Stop speaking like you are defeated. Stop thinking like you are forgotten. Stop living below the level heaven designed for you. It is time to rise. Rise in your mind. Rise in your spirit. Rise in your actions. Rise in your discipline. Rise in your courage. Rise in your faith. Rise in your purpose. Rise in your identity. You were not born average, so stop living like you are. And if today you make the decision to rise, heaven will respond. Doors will open. Strength will return. Clarity will come. Opportunities will appear. Help will find you. Favor will surround you. Because heaven supports those who refuse to settle. Lift your spirit. Lift your voice. Lift your expectation. Lift your standard. Lift your life. You weren't born average. Start living like it. Self-doubt disappears when identity becomes stronger than circumstance. Many people walk through life defeated not because their enemy is strong, but because their identity is weak. The weight of what they face becomes heavier than the truth of who they are. And once that imbalance begins, self-doubt becomes their constant companion. Self-doubt begins to whisper. It begins to dictate. It begins to shape their decisions, influence their reactions, and limit their movement. It becomes a prison without walls, a chain without metal, a silence that kills dreams before they ever breathe. But the moment your identity becomes clearer, louder, firmer, deeper, and stronger than the noise of your circumstance, the chains fall, the prison collapses, the doubt dissolves, the voice inside you becomes greater than the pressure around you. Your identity is the foundation of your becoming. Without identity, you cannot stand. Without identity, you cannot rise. Without identity, you cannot endure. You may have talent, but without identity, talent becomes confusion. You may have ambition, but without identity, ambition becomes fear. You may have dreams, but without identity, dreams turn into unreachable fantasies. Identity is not what people call you. Identity is not what society says you are. Identity is not what your past has labeled you. Identity is not defined by your failures, your scars, or your weaknesses. Identity is what heaven placed inside you before you ever arrived on earth. Identity is the truth that existed before your circumstances ever began. And until you return to that truth, you will always fight battles you were never meant to fight and surrender victories you were meant to claim. Self-doubt is born the moment you disconnect who you are from who you were created to be. When you forget the strength within you, the world around you becomes louder. Circumstances begin to speak. Challenges begin to mock. Delays begin to frustrate. Failures begin to intimidate. People begin to define you, and slowly, self-doubt grows. It grows not because the circumstance is powerful, but because you have allowed the circumstance to speak louder than your identity. Many people do not lose to life. They lose to the voice inside them that believes life is stronger. But that voice can only survive when identity is weak. When your identity becomes stronger than your circumstance, everything changes. Your walk changes. Your posture changes. Your mindset changes. Your reactions change. Your expectations change. Your decisions change. You stop living from fear and you start living from truth. You stop shrinking and you start rising. You stop hesitating and you start moving. You stop doubting and you start declaring. The world does not determine your steps anymore. Your identity determines them. The storm does not dictate your faith anymore. Your identity dictates it. People's opinions do not shape your worth anymore. Your identity shapes it. Identity gives you a backbone. Identity gives you courage. Identity gives you clarity. Identity gives you stability. Identity gives you discernment. When you know who you are, you stop being confused about who you are not. When you know who you are, you stop negotiating your value. When you know who you are, you stop apologizing for your strength. When you know who you are, you stop accepting what was never meant for you. When you know who you are, you stop allowing circumstances to speak louder than truth. Look at people who carry strong identity. Their environment may shake, but they do not shake. Their emotions may feel pressure, but they do not bow. Their bodies may feel weak, but their spirit remains strong. Their circumstances may say, you cannot, but their identity says, I will. Their past may say, you are finished, but their identity says, I am rising. This is the power of identity. It turns storms into stepping stones. It turns fear into focus. It turns obstacles into opportunities. It turns battles into training grounds. Many people pray for confidence, but what they really need is identity. Confidence built on circumstances will collapse when circumstances change. Confidence built on identity remains unshaken even in the fire. Confidence built on validation from people disappears the moment people withdraw their approval. Confidence built on identity remains even when the world stands against you. Identity is the root. Confidence is the fruit. If the root is weak, the fruit will never survive. Self-doubt thrives where identity is unrooted. If you do not know who you are, you will accept anyone's definition of you. If you do not know your worth, you will allow others to measure it. If you do not know your value, you will settle for cheap environments. If you do not know your assignment, you will chase distractions. If you do not know your strength, you will run from battles you were anointed to win. If you do not know what you carry, you will live like you carry nothing. Circumstances are loud. They shout. They intimidate. They create pressure. They create fear. They create uncertainty. They create confusion. Circumstances speak the language of limitation. You can. You won't. You're not enough. You're too late. You're too broken. You're too weak. But identity speaks the language of destiny. You are chosen. You are equipped. You are strengthened. You are empowered. You are called. You are prepared. You are not alone. The louder voice wins. If the voice of your identity is louder, self-doubt disappears. If the voice of your circumstance is louder, Self-doubt multiplies. You must choose which voice will lead you. You must choose which voice you obey. You must choose which voice deserves authority over your life. Every day, you are shaped by the voice you listen to. If you listen to fear, you become fear. If you listen to insecurity, you shrink. If you listen to doubt, you hesitate. But if you listen to identity, you rise. If you listen to truth, you grow. If you listen to purpose, you move. If you listen to the whisper of destiny, you become unstoppable. Identity is not an emotion, it is a revelation. You do not feel identity, you know identity. Emotions change with weather. Identity remains through storms. You may wake up tired, but your identity is unchanged. You may wake up discouraged, but your identity is untouched. You may wake up feeling behind, but your identity is not behind. Your identity is not a mood. Your identity is a foundation. When you stand on foundation, storms can shake the walls, but they cannot collapse the structure. Self-doubt disappears when identity becomes stronger than circumstance. But identity does not become strong by accident. It becomes strong through intention. It becomes strong through discipline. It becomes strong through alignment. It becomes strong through understanding. You must train your identity. You must feed it. You must protect it. You must guard it from voices that try to weaken it. You must guard it from environments that try to limit it. You must guard it from people who feel threatened by it. Weak identity invites manipulation. Strong identity attracts destiny. You cannot walk with everyone when you are building identity. Some people weaken your spirit. Some people drain your confidence. Some people feed your fear. Some people magnify your doubt. Some people make your circumstances look bigger than your potential. If you surround yourself with those voices, your identity will shrink. But if you surround yourself with voices that speak truth, call out strength, and remind you of purpose, your identity will grow. And as identity grows, doubt dies. Circumstances can look strong, but they are temporary. Identity is eternal. Circumstances can change overnight. Identity stands through seasons. Circumstances can threaten you, but they cannot define you. Circumstances can pressure you, but they cannot reduce you unless you allow them. Circumstances may surround you, but identity sustains you. Look at people who overcome impossible challenges. They are not the ones with perfect circumstances. They are the ones with unshakable identity. They rise not because life is easy, but because they refuse to forget who they are. They refuse to let circumstances speak louder than calling. They refuse to let temporary pain hide permanent purpose. They refuse to let fear dilute identity. Self-doubt is defeated not by shouting at circumstances, but by strengthening identity. When you know who you are, fear becomes small. When you know who you are, pressure becomes fuel. When you know who you are, criticism loses power. When you know who you are, delay does not defeat you. When you know who you are, rejection becomes redirection. When you know who you are, uncertainty becomes training. When you know who you are, you move with a confidence that cannot be borrowed and cannot be stolen. Identity turns self-doubt into self-mastery. It turns insecurity into authority. It turns confusion into clarity. It turns hesitation into boldness. Identity positions you to act even when you feel unready, to move even when you feel imperfect, to rise even when you feel weak. Because identity is not about how you feel, it is about who you are. And who you are is not defined by temporary storms. Circumstances test identity, they stretch it, they press it, They challenge it, but they also reveal it. When identity is weak, circumstances expose fear. When identity is strong, circumstances expose strength. You will never know the power inside you until circumstances try to break you. And you will never understand the depth of your identity until you choose to stand in it when everything around you shakes. Self-doubt disappears when identity becomes stronger than circumstance. When identity becomes your anchor, your compass, your mindset, your foundation, your mirror, your strength, your direction, your posture, your confidence, your peace, your clarity, your stability, your strategy, your shield, your advantage, your expression, your voice, your motivation, your movement, your fuel, your standard, your starting point, your returning point, your reference point.